Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever paused in the middle of your busy life, looked into the mirror, and wondered, am I truly blessed? We often associate blessings with money, comfort, or success, but God's blessings don't always come wrapped in luxury. Sometimes they come hidden inside challenges, strength, and silent growth. So today, let's discover not what the world calls lucky, but what God calls blessed. My dear sisters, every woman carries a divine spark, a strength, a grace, and a purpose that cannot be replaced. But not every woman recognizes how blessed she truly is. You see, being blessed by God doesn't mean life is perfect. It means you have been chosen to rise after every fall, to shine even in the darkest nights, and to love even when your heart is breaking. When God blesses a woman, He doesn't just give her what she wants. He shapes her into what the world needs. So let's unfold together the 8 signs that show you are a woman truly blessed by God. You carry peace even in chaos. And that, my friend, is one of the rarest and most powerful blessings a woman can possess. In a world that moves too fast, where noise surrounds us from every corner, peace becomes the most valuable treasure of all. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness, comfort, or success. Yet very few understand that the foundation of all these things lies in inner peace. The kind of peace that no storm can destroy. A woman blessed by God doesn't depend on perfect circumstances to feel calm. She doesn't need everything to go her way to smile. Her peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from a quiet place within her heart, the place where she has learned to trust God completely. She understands that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of faith. When the world shouts around her, she listens to the silent assurance inside her soul that says, you are safe, you are guided, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Think about those moments in life when everything seems to be falling apart, when work becomes overwhelming, relationships feel heavy, or the future looks uncertain. Most people panic, complain, or break down. But a woman who is truly blessed by God stands differently. She takes a deep breath, closes her eyes for a moment, and whispers, this too is part of the plan. She doesn't fight the storm, she learns to dance in the rain. Her calmness doesn't mean she has no emotions. It means she has learned to control them, instead of letting them control her. Imagine a mother who has faced countless challenges, managing her home, caring for her children, handling financial worries, yet still, every morning, she smiles and greets the day with gratitude. Her peace comes from her belief that no matter how difficult things become, she is not alone. There is a divine hand that never leaves her side. Even when everything around her shakes, her faith roots her deeper. That is the kind of peace only God can give. Unexplainable, unbreakable, and unconditional. There are days when people will test her patience, when disappointments will knock at her door, and when life will seem unfair. But she doesn't allow negativity to enter her spirit. She knows that reacting in anger steals her energy, while responding with calm strengthens her soul. Her peace becomes her power. It's what makes her glow differently, not because her life is perfect, but because she carries grace through imperfection. Sometimes, peace looks like walking away from arguments that don't serve your growth. Sometimes it's staying silent when the world expects you to shout back. Sometimes it's forgiving someone who doesn't even say sorry, simply because you refuse to let their actions disturb your inner balance. This kind of peace is not easy. It is learned through experience, pain, and patience. Every time she chose peace over drama, she became stronger. Every time she trusted God instead of doubting herself, she became wiser. A blessed woman knows that peace is her true wealth. Expensive clothes, luxury houses, or fame mean nothing if her heart is restless. She would rather live a simple life filled with calm than a glamorous one filled with anxiety. She realizes that the quiet moments, sipping her morning tea, watching the sunset, sitting in prayer, hearing her child's laughter, are where true peace is found. These are the everyday miracles that remind her that God's presence is not loud but gentle. And there are moments when her peace influences others without her even trying. People notice her calm nature and feel comforted by it. Friends come to her for advice because they trust her energy. Even in the middle of a crisis, she remains the anchor, steady, kind, and centered. Her peace becomes contagious. It spreads through her words, her actions, her presence. Wherever she goes, she brings light. That's why a woman blessed by God doesn't just live peacefully, she becomes peace for others. Sometimes, peace also means acceptance, accepting what she cannot change and focusing on what she can. She learns that not every battle deserves her attention, and not every situation requires her control. She doesn't chase after people or things that are not meant for her. She simply lets go and trusts that what is truly hers will never miss her. That trust gives her an unmatched calmness that no amount of stress can shake. She reminds herself daily that peace is a choice she must make again and again, no matter how difficult life becomes. Even when the world says, "You should be angry," she chooses understanding. Even when people wrong her, she chooses compassion. Even when her dreams are delayed, she chooses patience. That choice, to remain peaceful when chaos surrounds her, is what keeps her connected to God's grace. In her silence, she listens deeply. In her stillness, she grows spiritually. In her calm, she becomes unstoppable. She learns that her peace is her protection. When she guards it, no negativity can harm her. No darkness can disturb her, and no storm can sink her. She becomes like a lotus, blooming beautifully in muddy water, untouched by the dirt around her. That is what it means to carry peace even in chaos, to remain pure, grounded, and radiant, no matter how rough the waters get. So, if you find yourself surrounded by challenges today, remember this peace is not something you find after the storm. It's something you create within it. It's the decision to keep your heart calm while the world spins fast. It's the whisper that says, "I trust you, God," even when the outcome is unknown. When you carry peace in your heart, you carry God's presence in your soul. And that is the mark of a woman truly blessed. You choose gratitude over complaints. That simple decision transforms an ordinary woman into an extraordinary soul. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It's a way of seeing life through the eyes of grace. When a woman chooses to be thankful instead of bitter, hopeful instead of helpless, she shifts the entire atmosphere around her. Gratitude is not about having everything. It's about seeing the blessing in everything. And that is where divine strength lies. Not in perfection, but in appreciation. In daily life, it's easy to get lost in what's missing. We compare ourselves with others, their looks, their lifestyle, their relationships, and slowly, complaints start to replace contentment. A blessed woman, however, walks a different path. She trains her mind to notice the small miracles that others overlook. She looks at her home, maybe simple but filled with love, and whispers, "Thank you." She sees her child smile, the morning sunlight, the food on her table, and realizes she already has more than enough. Gratitude doesn't mean she has no struggles. It means she doesn't let struggle steal her joy. Every morning, when she opens her eyes, she understands that waking up itself is a blessing. Some people didn't get that chance today. Every breath she takes, every meal she eats, every friend who checks in. These are not small things, these are gifts. And she knows that when you thank God for what you have, He multiplies it. But when you complain, you block the flow of blessings meant for you. Gratitude attracts more to be grateful for, while complaints invite more reasons to complain. Think of a day when nothing seemed to go right. Maybe she woke up late, missed her bus, spilled coffee on her clothes, and faced criticism at work. Most people would end the day in frustration. But she pauses. She takes a deep breath and says, "Even today, I learned something. I grew stronger. I got through it." That simple shift in mindset turns an unpleasant day into a meaningful one. Gratitude turns her obstacles into opportunities for growth. A grateful woman sees lessons where others see losses. When she faces heartbreak, she doesn't say, "Why me?" She says, "Thank you for the experience that taught me what love truly means." When plans fail, she doesn't give up. She says, "Thank you for protecting me from something not meant for me." Gratitude transforms pain into wisdom and disappointment into direction. It allows her to see that even the closed doors were part of God's guidance. One of the most beautiful qualities of a grateful woman is her ability to spread light to others. Her energy uplifts those around her. She doesn't complain about her problems. She shares hope through her words. When someone is struggling, she reminds them gently, there is still something to be thankful for. People feel peace in her presence because her heart radiates contentment. Gratitude becomes her silent language, a melody that softens hearts and strengthens souls. She also knows that gratitude is not just about words, it's about actions. She expresses thankfulness by helping others, by smiling more, by being kind even when she's tired. She says thank you to the people who serve her, the cleaner, the waiter, the driver, because she knows that every act of service deserves acknowledgement. Gratitude makes her humble, reminding her that no one rises alone. We are all connected in the circle of giving and receiving. Sometimes gratitude means finding joy in simple routines. The smell of rain, the laughter of family, a quiet evening with her thoughts. She embraces them with appreciation. She doesn't wait for grand moments to feel blessed. She finds blessings in the ordinary. When she waters her plants, she feels peace. When she hears a song she loves, she smiles. These small acknowledgements of joy keep her heart alive and glowing. Gratitude also protects her from negativity. When envy tries to enter her heart, she replaces it with appreciation. Instead of saying, "Why don't I have what she has?" she says, "I'm happy for her and thankful for my own path." This attitude keeps her spirit light and free. She doesn't carry the heavy burden of comparison. She knows that everyone's timing is different and what's meant for her will always find its way. Gratitude teaches her patience because she trusts that every season, even the waiting ones, holds its own beauty. When life gives her more responsibilities, she doesn't complain. "Why is everything on me?" she says, "Thank you for trusting me with this much strength." When life gives her silence, she doesn't complain about loneliness. She says, "Thank you for the time to reconnect with my soul." Gratitude turns her heart into a sanctuary where peace lives, no matter what's happening outside. And the truth is, grateful people shine differently. Their energy is magnetic because they focus on abundance, not lack. You can feel it in their smile, their voice, and their kindness. A woman blessed by God glows not because everything is easy, but because she sees the gift hidden in every experience. Her gratitude becomes her identity, her invisible crown. Even at the end of the hardest days, when tears fall and hope feels thin, she still finds something to thank God for. Maybe it's just the strength to face another day. Maybe it's a lesson learned through pain. She knows that every night she sleeps with a thankful heart, she wakes up closer to peace. Gratitude for her is not an act, it's a lifestyle. So if you ever wonder why some women seem to walk with such calm confidence, it's because they've learned this secret life may not always give you what you want, but it always gives you something to be grateful for. When you choose gratitude over complaints, you don't just change your perspective, you change your entire destiny. Because a heart filled with gratitude will always attract grace. You heal others through kindness, a quality so rare and divine that it reflects the true beauty of a blessed soul. In a world where everyone is rushing, competing, and often forgetting to care, a woman who chooses kindness stands out like a light in the darkness. Her gentleness isn't weakness, it's quiet strength. Her soft words, her compassionate actions, her ability to listen. These are not small gestures, they are healing in motion. God has placed within her a heart that can comfort the broken, uplift the weary, and remind others that goodness still exists. Everywhere she goes, she leaves a trace of warmth behind. It may be a simple smile at a stranger, a few comforting words to a friend who feels lost, or even just being fully present for someone who needs to talk. She doesn't need to perform grand acts to make a difference. Her kindness flows naturally, like a river that nourishes everything it touches. When people come to her burdened with pain, they often leave feeling lighter, not because she fixed their problems, but because she made them feel seen, valued, and loved. That is the quiet miracle of kindness. It doesn't always change situations, but it always changes hearts. In her daily life, she finds countless opportunities to heal through kindness. When someone snaps at her in frustration, she doesn't react with anger. Instead, she pauses, understands that they may be carrying pain, and responds with grace. Her calmness diffuses tension. When a coworker is struggling, she offers help instead of judgment. When her child makes a mistake, she corrects with patience rather than shouting. These small acts might seem ordinary, but they are the very essence of God's love flowing through her. Her kindness becomes a silent sermon, teaching others how to treat one another with empathy. A woman who heals through kindness knows that people rarely remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. And so she becomes intentional with her words. She speaks gently even when she has every reason to be harsh. She compliments sincerely, she encourages freely, and she forgives easily. Her heart doesn't hold grudges because she knows that carrying anger only poisons her own peace. She understands that forgiveness is not approval of wrong, but a decision to protect her inner calm. And in forgiving, she sets both herself and others free. There's a special beauty in how her kindness doesn't depend on how others treat her. Even if people misunderstand her goodness, she doesn't stop being kind. She knows that her kindness is a reflection of who she is, not a reaction to others' behavior. She lives by a simple truth: when she spreads love, it will always find its way back to her, maybe not from the same person, but in some divine form. God blesses those who give without expecting, who love without demanding, and who help without seeking recognition. Sometimes her kindness is silent. She doesn't announce her good deeds or seek attention. She might quietly pay for someone's meal, leave a note of encouragement for a struggling friend, or listen for hours to someone who just needs to be heard. Her humility makes her kindness even more powerful because it comes from a genuine place, a place that expects nothing in return. The world may never see her sacrifices, but God does, and He rewards her with peace that cannot be measured. Kindness also shows in the way she treats herself. She knows that to heal others, she must not neglect her own heart. She speaks kindly to herself, forgives her own mistakes, and allows herself to rest. She doesn't let guilt or self-doubt consume her, because she understands that God's grace flows through her too. By showing herself compassion, she refills the love she later pours into others. Her inner healing becomes the source of her outer kindness. There are days when her kindness is tested, when people take advantage of her patience, when her efforts go unnoticed, or when she feels unappreciated. Yet even then, she continues to be kind, because she knows that kindness is not about who deserves it, it's about who chooses it. And she chooses it every single time. Her consistency makes her different from the world that often rewards pride and power. She carries the quiet confidence of knowing that true greatness lies in humility. Her kindness is like sunlight, steady, warm, and life-giving. Just as the sun doesn't decide who to shine upon, she doesn't decide who deserves her care. She simply gives, because giving is her nature. And slowly, she changes the environment around her. People become gentler in her presence. Conversations become softer, and hearts begin to open. That's the magic of kindness. It heals without noise, it teaches without lectures, and it transforms without force. Every time she chooses to help instead of hurt, to understand instead of argue, or to encourage instead of criticize, she becomes a vessel of God's love on earth. Her kindness becomes her ministry, her daily way of serving a higher purpose. It's not about religion or rituals. It's about reflecting divine compassion through human actions. And when she lays her head to rest at night, she feels a quiet contentment. Not because the world noticed her, but because she knows she made someone's day a little brighter, a little easier, a little more hopeful. That peace in her heart is God's way of saying, "Well done." Kindness doesn't cost her anything, but it gives everything to those who receive it. It's a gentle force that breaks walls, mends relationships, and melts bitterness. The world is full of people hurting in silence, and a woman who heals through kindness becomes the balm their souls have been waiting for. Her life becomes a message, a reminder that even in a world of noise and chaos, gentleness still has the power to change everything. So she keeps being kind, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Not because everyone deserves it, but because God has filled her heart with love too abundant to keep to herself. That is what makes her blessed. Not the applause, not the recognition, but the simple truth that through her kindness, lives are touched, hearts are lifted, and faith in goodness is restored. You rise stronger after every fall. That is the mark of a woman truly blessed by God. Life will never promise you a smooth road. It will test you, shake you, and sometimes even break you. But what defines you is not how many times you fall. It's how many times you rise, how you choose to stand again even when the world expects you to stay down. Every trial, every tear, every sleepless night becomes a silent teacher that molds your strength. God doesn't give challenges to destroy you. He uses them to rebuild you. Wiser, tougher, and more graceful than before. There comes a point in every woman's life when she feels the weight of the world pressing on her shoulders. When dreams crumble, trust is broken, and the path ahead seems lost in darkness. But even in those moments deep within her heart, a whisper says, "You can rise again." That whisper is not just her voice, it's God's voice reminding her of the strength He placed within her before she ever faced the storm. You see, a woman blessed by God doesn't escape pain, she transforms through it. When life knocks her down, she doesn't curse her fate, she asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" She knows that every fall is an invitation to grow, to rise higher than before. The broken pieces of her past don't make her weak. They become the mosaic of her power. The same fire that once burned her now fuels her determination. Think of the time she thought it was the end. When her relationship failed, when her job slipped away, when her friends turned their backs. In those moments, she cried, she questioned, she doubted. But she didn't stay there. She wiped her tears, stood up, and faced life again. Each scar became her story, each lesson her armor. She learned that strength isn't built when life is easy. It's built when she has every reason to give up, and still chooses not to. Every rise after a fall adds a new layer of depth to her soul. She becomes more patient, more compassionate, and more understanding. She learns that pain makes her relatable. It softens her heart towards others who are suffering. When she sees someone struggling, she no longer judges, she understands, because she's been there too. Her own survival becomes a source of hope for others. She becomes living proof that no fall is final, no failure permanent, and no wound too deep to heal. There's a kind of beauty in how she rebuilds herself after being broken. The world sees her smile and admires her strength, but few know the storm she walked through to reach this peace. She no longer hides her scars. She wears them proudly because they tell a story, not of pain, but of victory. They are reminders that she faced battles meant to break her, and yet she still stands. In her daily life, her resilience shows in countless ways. When she faces disappointment at work, She doesn't let it define her worth. She uses it as motivation to do better. When her loved ones misunderstand her, she doesn't close her heart, she keeps loving because she knows her kindness is her power. When her plans don't go as expected, she doesn't complain. She trusts that God is redirecting her towards something greater. Even when she is tired, she keeps going, not because she has to, but because she believes there's purpose in her persistence. Some nights she may cry herself to sleep, but the next morning she wakes up, fixes her crown, and faces the world again. That's her strength, quiet, steady, and unwavering. She doesn't need applause to validate her. Her strength comes from knowing that she didn't quit when she could have. Every challenge that once felt like a curse eventually becomes her greatest blessing. The heartbreak that shattered her taught her how to love herself. The failure that embarrassed her taught her humility. The loneliness that once hurt her taught her independence. Each experience, no matter how painful, became a stepping stone toward the woman she is destined to become. She doesn't regret her past anymore. She sees how every fall was a push toward her growth. And through it all, she learns that rising stronger isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about facing her truth with courage, acknowledging the pain, but choosing not to be defined by it. She knows that true strength is not about never breaking. It's about being broken and still finding beauty in the pieces. People often ask her, "How do you stay so strong after everything you've been through?" She smiles softly and says, "Because I didn't do it alone." She knows that every time she rose, it wasn't just her willpower, it was divine grace lifting her up. When she had no strength left, God became her strength. When she had no hope, He became her light. That is why she never fears falling again, because she knows the one who helped her rise before will help her rise again. Her journey teaches others that it's okay to fall, that it's okay to struggle, that it's okay to not have it all figured out. What matters is to never lose faith in your ability to rise. She shows that brokenness is not the end, it's the beginning of becoming. And every time she stands after being knocked down, she becomes an inspiration for someone else who thought they couldn't make it. So she walks through life with her head high, not because everything is perfect, but because she has survived everything that tried to destroy her. She carries herself with quiet confidence, knowing she's not the same woman she once was. She's stronger, wiser, and closer to God's purpose for her. That's the beauty of a woman who rises after every fall. Her strength doesn't roar, it glows. Her resilience doesn't shout, it shines. And every time she stands back up, she proves that God's greatest miracles often happen after our greatest struggles. She is not defined by how many times she fell. She is defined by the courage it took to rise again and again, until her scars turned into strength and her pain turned into purpose. You walk in purpose, not comparison. And that is what makes your journey uniquely powerful. In a world where people are constantly measuring their worth through others' achievements, a woman blessed by God knows that her path is not a competition, it's a calling. She understands that the moment she stops comparing her life to someone else's, she starts living the life that was truly meant for her. Purpose gives her direction when the world confuses her, and peace when society pressures her to become something she is not. Every day, she wakes up with an awareness that she is not here by accident. There is a divine reason behind her existence. A reason that may not always be grand or glamorous, but is always meaningful. She doesn't chase what others have, she focuses on what she was created to do. While others run in circles trying to fit in, she walks her own path with quiet confidence, knowing that God's timing for her life is perfect. She doesn't need to hurry or compete, because she trusts that what is meant for her will never pass her by. When she scrolls through social media and sees others achieving things she dreams of, she doesn't let jealousy poison her peace. She celebrates others while remaining grateful for her own journey. She knows that everyone's story unfolds differently. Some bloom early, some bloom late, but all bloom when it's their season. Comparison, she realizes, only creates insecurity, while purpose creates fulfillment. So she stays focused on her lane, watering her own garden, instead of envying someone else's flowers. In her daily life, she may not always feel successful by the world's standards. She may be a mother quietly shaping her children's hearts, a teacher guiding young minds, or a woman running a small business with love and integrity. Yet she understands that purpose isn't measured by fame, followers, or fortune. It's measured by impact. Every smile she brings, every act of kindness she shows, every person she inspires. That is her purpose unfolding, even in the simplest moments. There are times when doubt tries to creep in, whispering, "You're not good enough. Look at what others have achieved." But she knows how to silence that voice. She reminds herself, "I am not behind, I am on my own timeline." She trusts that God's plan doesn't need to match anyone else's. What others accomplish in a year might take her 5, but it doesn't make her less worthy. It makes her journey more deeply personal. Her sense of purpose gives her strength in times of failure too. When things don't go her way, she doesn't see it as rejection but as redirection. Maybe the door closed because it wasn't part of her calling. Maybe the delay is preparing her for something greater. She no longer sees challenges as punishment, but as preparation. Every detour is teaching her patience. Every obstacle is shaping her character. Because when you walk in purpose, you understand that even setbacks have meaning. This clarity of purpose also frees her from the need to prove herself. She no longer seeks validation from others because she knows her worth comes from within, from the divine light that guides her. Whether people praise her or misunderstand her, it doesn't shake her focus. She keeps walking steadily toward what she feels called to do. Her heart is not driven by competition but by contribution, by the desire to give, serve, and create in her own authentic way. You can see it in how she moves through life. Graceful yet determined, humble yet confident. She doesn't rush to be noticed. She allows her work, her energy, and her intentions to speak for her. While others chase attention, she chases meaning. While others seek to be impressive, she seeks to be impactful. Her quiet purpose carries more strength than 1,000 loud ambitions. Every woman's purpose is different, and she respects that. She doesn't judge another woman's journey because she understands that everyone has their own divine timing. Some are called to lead, others to nurture. Some are meant to speak, others to listen. Some are here to build, others to heal. And in that diversity of purpose, she sees beauty. Instead of comparing, she connects. Instead of competing, she collaborates. That is how she turns envy into empowerment. There are moments when she feels tired, questioning if she's making a difference. But then, life gives her small reminders. A thank you message, a grateful smile, a prayer answered in silence. And she realizes her purpose is working quietly, like roots growing underground. It doesn't always need to be seen to be significant. The woman who walks in purpose knows that real growth often happens unseen. She also teaches others not through preaching, but through example. Her peace, her patience, her steady focus. They inspire those around her to stop chasing the world and start listening to their hearts. People notice how she lives with intention and calm, and they wonder how she does it. The secret is simply she's aligned with something bigger than herself. Her purpose gives her direction, and her faith gives her courage. Even when storms come, and they always do, her purpose keeps her grounded. She doesn't lose herself in temporary failures because her roots go deep. She understands that the same God who planted her will water her even in dry seasons. So she waits, she works, and she trusts. Purpose has taught her patience. It has taught her to embrace the process, not just the results. And when she looks back one day, she won't measure her success by how fast she got there or how many people noticed her. She'll measure it by how many lives she touched, how many hearts she lifted, and how many times she stayed true to herself when the world tried to pull her away. Because walking in purpose isn't about being better than others. It's about becoming the best version of who God intended you to be. That's what makes her journey beautiful. She walks in purpose, not comparison. She trusts her timing, honors her growth, and celebrates her uniqueness. While the world races, she moves with meaning. While others chase validation, she follows peace. And that quiet, unshakable focus is what makes her truly blessed. Because a woman who walks in purpose is unstoppable, unshaken, and unforgettable. You forgive even when it hurts. And that is one of the most powerful signs of a woman truly blessed by God. Forgiveness is not easy. It is not something that happens overnight. It's a journey, a deep inner decision to let go of the weight that has been crushing your spirit. When someone hurts you, when they betray your trust, or when life deals you a pain you didn't deserve, the natural instinct is to hold on to anger, to remember every wound. But a woman of divine strength chooses differently. She chooses peace over bitterness, healing over hatred, and love over resentment. Forgiveness doesn't mean she forgets what happened. It means she refuses to let what happened control her. It's about freeing herself from the emotional prison that anger builds. She realizes that holding grudges doesn't punish those who hurt her. It punishes her own heart. Bitterness becomes a chain, but forgiveness becomes the key that sets her free. She doesn't forgive because it's easy. She forgives because her soul deserves peace. There are moments in her life when forgiveness feels impossible. When the pain cuts too deep and the memories replay like an endless echo. But she has learned that God's strength is made perfect in her weakness. So even when she can't forgive on her own, she asks for divine help. Slowly, her heart softens. The anger that once burned begins to fade. The tears that once fell in rage turn into tears of release. And she realizes that forgiveness isn't something she does for them, it's something she does for herself. In her daily life, she practices forgiveness in small, quiet ways. When someone interrupts her, she doesn't snap back. When a loved one forgets to appreciate her, she chooses to understand rather than resent. When a friend disappoints her, she remembers all the times they stood by her and lets compassion win over irritation. These small acts of letting go strengthen her heart for the bigger challenges life throws at her. Forgiveness becomes her habit, her way of staying aligned with peace. Sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is herself. She looks back and sees the mistakes she made, the times she stayed too long, trusted too easily, or gave too much. But instead of drowning in regret, she reminds herself that every mistake shaped her into the woman she is today. She learns to give herself the same grace she gives others. Self-forgiveness becomes an act of self-love, a way of saying, I did my best with what I knew then, and I am growing. She also knows that forgiveness doesn't mean allowing others to hurt her again. It's not about ignoring boundaries, it's about releasing resentment while still protecting her peace. She can forgive someone and still choose distance. She can love someone from afar and still wish them well. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation, it requires release. It's her way of saying, I no longer give you the power to disturb my heart. A woman who forgives walks lighter. You can see it in her eyes. There's a calmness, a glow that comes from being unburdened. She doesn't carry grudges, she carries lessons. She doesn't seek revenge, she seeks peace. When others gossip or hold anger, she remains silent because she knows that her energy is too sacred to be wasted on negativity. Her silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. There's a story in every woman who forgives. A story of pain turned into power. Maybe it was a betrayal that broke her trust, maybe it was a family member who misunderstood her, or maybe it was life itself that disappointed her. But instead of letting bitterness take root, She watered her heart with patience and understanding. Over time, that garden of forgiveness grew flowers of peace. Now, when she looks back, she doesn't see anger, she sees growth. Forgiveness also becomes her greatest teacher. It teaches her humility, that everyone, including herself, is flawed. It teaches her strength, that letting go takes more courage than holding on. And it teaches her faith, that justice and healing are not hers to control, but God's to deliver. She learns to trust that the same divine power that helped her forgive will also restore what was lost in ways she cannot yet imagine. In her relationships, her ability to forgive keeps love alive. She understands that every connection, whether friendship, marriage, or family, will face moments of misunderstanding. Instead of walking away at the first sign of hurt, she chooses to rebuild. She communicates with empathy, listens with her heart, and gives others a chance to change. Her forgiveness doesn't make her a fool, it makes her a force of grace in a world that easily gives up on people. Even in her career or social life, forgiveness keeps her focused. When people criticize her or try to pull her down, she doesn't waste time plotting revenge. She knows that revenge is a distraction, but forgiveness is liberation. She keeps her energy for progress, not for payback. She rises above pettiness and allows her success to speak for her. That is how she turns pain into purpose. Not by fighting back, but by moving forward. There will always be moments when old wounds try to reopen, when her heart feels heavy again. But she knows now how to respond. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and whispers, "I release it." She doesn't need closure from others, because she has found closure within herself. She no longer waits for apologies that may never come. She chooses peace without permission. Forgiveness doesn't make her forget what she's been through. It reminds her how far she has come. It shows her how strong she has become by refusing to let pain define her. Every time she forgives, she becomes lighter, freer, and closer to her true self. And when others see her, calm, radiant, and at peace, they may not know her story, but they feel her energy. They sense that she has endured storms and chosen serenity. That is the quiet beauty of forgiveness. It heals silently but shines loudly. It's not about pretending the hurt never happened. It's about proving that the hurt no longer controls your happiness. So she keeps forgiving, not once, not twice, but every day in small and big ways. Because she knows that forgiveness is not an event, it's a lifestyle. It's how she keeps her heart pure, her spirit light, and her connection with God unbroken. That is her power, to forgive, to let go, and to rise again not with anger in her heart, but with peace in her soul.